These edges, there's always, again, that first lip that you take it to. So if you can see this door here, I'll show you a close-up now. This lip here is where you want to take it to. So this back edge, and again, every door will have its own lip. You'll see the first time which lip it'll come to. So it'll be a lip here, which is like you can tuck your tape behind, or again this one, or it'll be in the middle somewhere. But I generally take it to that first edge. So all I do is I actually roll the edges with a sponge roller. I've always done it this way. The reason I do that is because I actually tape it like quite close. So what I'll do is I'll tape it sort of probably about like that, and I'll bring the dome around the outside from the paper to the wall. So I'll tape this edge and I'll bring the paper around. I'll show you in a minute how I'm going to do it. But if I don't roll those edges first, obviously they're going to get missed if I do that. And secondly, if you want to spray those edges, you'd have to have the door fully open into the property to get the edges, and you'd have to build a dome all the way through the hallway. It's a lot more masking. Also, sometimes you haven't got the room because there might be a very small porchway. So I think this way works absolutely fine. You will see, like, even though that's never been rolled, that edge, because it's been used on the training, it's still got overspray on it. So what actually happens is the spray will hit the back of the paper and then bounce off, and you'll end up with that nice, like, sort of, it just feathers it together basically, so you can't see where you've rolled it. What you do is take yourself your sponge roller, like little 2-inch sponge roller, and a cloth with a bit of thinners on, I'd say. What you do is you can either mix up your 2K then do it, or you can do it like as it is out of the pot. Either or, if you mix up 2K, it'll be a bit quicker. So mix up your product before you're about to spray and just roll that edge in first. So what I would do is just roll in my edge with the color, whatever color I'm doing, and then taking my thinners and just wiping up any excess off of the edge of that door. As I'm doing it, I'll do that all the way around. And then, but obviously, again, I'd have this taped first. I wouldn't be doing this before I've taped it. Roll your edge, paper, spray, and then again, take your tape off, and then you haven't got to have the door fully open. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start taping this edge, and this is very tight in here. The more you can open the door, the better. So what I'm going to try and do here is, again, just sliding in into that gap, pinching down and laying. And I'm going to do that all the way around the outside of the door. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is do the top of the door exactly the same. I'm just going to follow that all the way around. Okay, so now I've got that taped up. What I'm going to actually be doing now is actually adding the paper to the edge of this door. So door's already sanded, so now I'm going to add my paper to it. So using my hand masker, all I'm going to do is I'm going to come up the side and all the way around along the bottom and so on. So what you want to make sure you're doing is sticking your paper set back as far as you can get it. So you don't want it right on the edge of here, so that the sticky edge of the tape is on that edge. You want it so it's covering the red. So from the bottom, all you want to do is you want to just go around the bottom. So like have it hanging over by just a tiny little bit. You don't have to go mad. And again, setting that paper back. And as I come up, what I'm going to do is, rather than trying to fight it in the corner, I'm going to just measure using the edge of my blade, just a tiny bit more, and I'm going to use my blade from here. And you can see, not the best rip, but that won't matter in a minute. So I can straighten that up. As I come around that corner with the next piece, that's going to actually cover that, so it doesn't have to be dead straight there, so don't worry about it too much. Like I said, you will make these mistakes and you will get like a bad cut, but again, you can just add bits in. I'm not going to redo that whole bit just because of that one piece. Now I want to do the top, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out like so. I want it to just be, again, just over there. So again, just going on top. Okay, so for the bottom, what I'm going to do is measure out the door like so again. Rip off, and you want the sticky side upside down for the bottom. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull that round to the bottom and start sticking on underneath. Okay. There's two ways of doing this door, that's with the frame and without the frame. Some people might just want their door painted, and if you look, you'll see that the door will be like blue and the frame will be white, or to have them both together, depends on the job really. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to pretend that they don't want the frame done. I say we're going to cover the frame up and we're going to spray around it. But like I said, each job would depend. Some people want the frame left white, some people want it painted the same colour as the door, some might want a different colour. But you just have to tape either to there or around. So if I was going to paint the frame, what I do is I just put my tape on and I have it slightly overhanging the edge of that rubber. And what I do is I just get my knife and I just run down that edge of that rubber, but obviously be very careful not to cut into the rubber. So as long as you're away from the rubber on that edge, then you won't ever cut into it. Pull your access off, nice straight line down there. And then what I would do is with the paper, as I'm coming through the paper, I would join that paper onto the edge of that tape from here, right? And then I would then tape this section here and have paper going from that side. So all I'm going to be doing differently from here is having my paper attached to that piece of tape there. But in this case, because we're not doing the frame, I'm going to bring it to and wrap around the frame this side. So like I said, bringing the frame in, you'll bring it to that edge. Not bringing the frame in, you bring it round. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is pull this all through. And what you want to be doing is making sure that you can get access to all of the door. So once I've set the place that I know it's going to stay, I can leave the door like that. Using my Tesa multi-purpose tape, I'm going to now tape up my edges. The thing I like to use for this is making it work. So all I'm going to do is take little bits to start with, and I'm going to start tacking in place where I want it. I will eventually full length the tape, but I just want to hold it in place for now. If I've got to make any adjustments, I can easily. If I go full steam and tape the whole thing, then it's a lot harder to adjust. So just going to be doing it as I go. And it might not look very neat at the start, but trust me, once it all comes together and you start putting bits in and poking things around, it does come together. And if you see, what I'm doing is actually using the tape as sort of like a lever to pull it up, then stick it. And don't worry about these corners and stuff, because at the moment what we're doing is just trying to get the inside done, and then everything else will come together. That's why I said don't always tape this first, or this, do the door first, and then you'll see where it's all going to land. So when I do my facial, it's going to come to there. Otherwise you could end up double taping. Okay, so up here you'll see there's a few joins and stuff, and there's sometimes some gaps in the corner. But all I'm going to do, like I said, is just use little bits of tape just to hold things in place, and also join any gaps up. So if there's a gap there, all I'm going to do is I'm going to just fuse the two together with a bit of tape. That's why I like to call this making it work, because you know, you just add little bits of tape to each bit. It's not that hard. So as we come around the corner now, we're gonna just start adding bits of tape in, really, and just making that nice and tight around that corner. The job is to stop it going in the house, and obviously you want to make sure there's nothing really on the door, which it isn't. Just clear all sides, and as long as you've done that, then you're pretty good to go. But the reason I do it this way, because if you've got the door on, you fully open it into the house otherwise, and taping all the hallway up is quite time consuming and unnecessary. So with this bit, sometimes it can be a bit baggy. So what I actually do is I run a bit of tape on the edge, and I just put my fingers into it, and I just put it down like tight both sides of my fingers, and that will generally create a crease, which actually keeps it off the back of that door. And again, it won't be on there long enough for you to worry about it, but between the coats. But at the end of the day is not touching the door is better than touching the door. So if you can get it off the door, then good job.